I think a lot of it has to do with the times that we are living in now, and I think that it is as obvious to you as it is to me that this was inevitable, that it had to come about. This country, and there are several people connected in our industry who are aware of the fact that our country must be representative of all of its people. And we have to present that face to the world, or else as a world power, we most certainly are going to lose our strength and lose our position. I think the timing has a great deal to do with it. I think the world is looking at us racially now, much more so than they ever were before. The fact that we are so poorly represented on television is as obvious to the world as it is to all of the powers of our industry. And a man named Hal Cantor happened to be very moved at a luncheon where Roy Wilkins spoke, and Hal Cantor went home and conceived this idea on his own, feeling that he wanted to do something. And he also is connected in a manner that he could bring this to the studios and have them accept it. But I don't believe that Hal Cantor could have sold this show starring a Negro 5 years ago.
You did No Strings on Broadway several years ago. Do you think if that had been done just recently, say a couple of months ago, that there would have been any chance of making a movie out of it at that time?
I don't think so. That's what I'm referring to as timing. I don't believe this, that this country is prepared to put money into something that involves such a story. This is a money-oriented country, and the fact that, let's say, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner was made is because Sidney Poitier has brought millions of dollars into the studios. I would like to say I think it's a rah-rah adventure. However, I think it's based on money, too. I think that they who made the film are very involved in dollars and cents, and Sidney Poitier means dollars and cents. Now, also, he has done something that's never been done before, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? And I'm sure that we must all say, that's marvelous, too.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to make a lot of money out of that, too.
Yes, they will.
Your television series, Julia, just what kind of a show is it? I mean, is it being directed toward the black community or the white community or all the total community? Just what is the direction?
It's a show directed towards all people. It's a half-hour comedy drama about a woman who has lost her husband in the war. And she leaves Kansas to go to Los Angeles to begin a new life with her 5.5-year-old son. They have human situations that are funny, often dramatic. They move into an integrated building and have their lives touch black people and white people, and whatever happens under those circumstances is what Julia is all about. And that is really what Julia is all about, no more than that.
About your show, Julia, do you feel like that it's an honest show with a black woman doing this thing as a black woman sees it, or is this something out of a white man's eyes?
I think that most certainly the scripts, there are black writers involved, I must tell you. That was one of the things that interested me after my first meeting with Hal Cantor, when we both agreed, and he had decided this before I mentioned it. I said, how do you feel that you can conceive situations weekly for a black woman and her son? And he said, I don't feel that I can. I want to see it on television. I feel that I can conceive comedy situations for anyone. But he said that he knew he would have to involve black writers, and immediately I was interested. He has 3 black writers on his staff. He has gone about integrating his life as well as his whole being, his family, this whole project in a manner that I must respect. Hal Cantor is from Georgia, and he was so moved, I suppose, because the luncheon reminded him of the totally segregated life that he lived, and that he really knew nothing about black people.
About the title, I'm a little bit concerned. I mean, it's a title using a first name, and first names have been used for some time for our servants and when we were working for white people. What do you think about that?
I must say this is the first time that occurred to me, because Julia was my idea. I wanted the show to be called Julia because since my name was Julia, I thought it would be kind of charming for the show to be called Julia. Originally, Hal did have a title for the show that was, I thought, racial. It was called Mama's Man. And it was interesting when we had the meeting about it. I felt that Mama's Man was a title not bearing the kind of dignity that I would like it to have. And Hal said, I don't understand that. And I named it that with great love, and I want to know exactly what you mean. And I explained to him what I meant, that, first of all, the male role and belittling the child and not allowing him to have a kind of masculinity as the title of the show bugged me. I didn't like that. And he said that he understood and that he would like to think about a title, and he'd like me to think about the title. And I did, and I came up with Julia. So maybe I've still got the servant's attitude.
Is the black woman more acceptable than the black man on the stage or on television now?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the white community can deal with the black woman, most certainly, much more so than they can with the black male. I think the roles that Sydney has played is a living proof of that, you know. And living our lives daily, I'm sure you're aware, moving about the city with your wife, that a black woman can walk into a room and all eyes are kind of comfortable and maybe even filled with admiration. A black man is something that the stereotypes, the sexual stereotypes, are something that we're going to have to grow up to and grow out of because they're ridiculous. But they are deeply engraved in our heritage, the stereotypes. And we're only through integration are we going to find out what a lie it is, that sexuality is in the head.
In that regard, how do you feel about your responsibility in correcting this point of view?
Well, I feel my life is, has brought me to a position of having the chance to be more verbal, having the chance to be verbal in places that millions of people can hear what it is that I see and I feel, gives me a greater responsibility. And I'm sure you feel that responsibility too. Once you are in the public eye, yes, I feel that I have to clarify a lot of things because I have the opportunity to do so, that's all. I think in that light I might add something that is kind of charming. You know that we have always had our greatest separation is our color and then the texture of our hair. I was doing a film and I went to the producer-director and I explained to him that while we were on location, it would really be a good idea for him to have a hairdresser who knew how to do what is considered kinky hair. And he said, why? And I said, well, because once we're on location, and I think we're going to be away from towns and cities and so on and so forth, if you're doing a shot and it's very humid, it's going to be hard for me to care for my hair myself. And whoever is the hairdresser should make sure that they know how to do kinky hair. And he said, well, I have the finest hairdresser in the country who's going to do the film. And I said, fine, well, let's find out if he can do kinky hair. So, of course, he could not do kinky hair. I said, now, would you explain, please, how you're going to do my hair now? And he said, well, what does one do? I said, well, now you have to do the hot combs and the curling eyes. He went back and explained to the producer-director that he could not do my hair. Now, producer-director is Otto Preminger. I have to tell you that because that adds to the story. We go on location. It's very humid, very hot. My hair begins to in front of his very eyes, and he keeps yelling for the hairdresser, yelling for the hairdresser. Hairdresser keeps coming and pushing it down, and I perspire, and it's sticking up again, and he doesn't know what to do. And the story, I can see the whole thing flashing in front of Otto's face. She warned me, she warned me. And I'm standing there saying, okay, Otto, what are we going to do? The hairdresser became very upset. He yelled at Otto. Otto fired him. The day's work was practically ruined. And we came back that day, and Otto said, okay, what are we going to do? So we hired a young man locally.
Most of our people are involved in some fashion with our people. Just where do you stand in that?
I have been involved for many years, and I've always enjoyed seeing the kind of progress that we began for ourselves several years ago, very active, a very verbal, a very aggressive kind of attitude that has come into the Negro community has pleased me greatly. And I've been a part of it. I was one of the people that helped to raise money for SNCC and worked closely there for a period of time. I think now the most important thing for us is, I was very impressed with an organization that I learned of when I was in California, my last trip there. And I think, I hope I am pronouncing it correctly, that it is the NIEU. And it is either the National Industrial and Economic Union. Yeah. I hope I am calling it by its correct name. But this organization has impressed me because it is involved with the black community and how it can raise its standards economically. And that's what I think our lives must direct themselves to at this time. Money is what this country is all about, I think. We are a materialistic society, and the black community must address itself to education, and the education that can bring about our own businesses and our own kind of competition with the white community. Unless we can compete economically, we're going to stand there screaming at the door, and the door is never going to be open.
Diahann, what do you plan to do after the series?
I haven't really given that any thought. I refuse to give that any thought. I have to have a positive attitude towards Julia. We have 16 definite weeks, and if I'm going to have a positive attitude, then I'm going to say that I'm going to be in California for a long time. I'd like to be. I'd like it to run, and I think that you are going to be pleasantly maybe surprised and delighted when you see Julia. It's a charming, charming idea.